Konnichiwa, Benjamin des. It's your real roots man in Japan. In today's video, I'd like to talk about a topic that I get a lot of questions about. And that's, what's it like dating in Japan? And my short answer to that is that dating in Japan is like any other place except you're in a foreign country, you're in Japan. So I think it depends on where you at. And I'm gonna speak on my experience. This is my opinion. And I'm gonna use a societal framework that we're used to understanding and comprehending, because I could get really esoteric about this topic, but I'm gonna keep it simple. In general, dating in Japan as a foreigner, as a black foreigner, I think is really unique. And the reason I say that is, depending on where you at, people might not have encountered too many black foreigners. And I think in general, there is kind of a mystique about us, a mystery about us, and people don't really know how to approach or how to communicate. Because I think in Japan, as far as black foreigners are concerned, there's a lot of mixed views and preconceived notions based off of the media that they consume coming from outside of Japan. So you kind of have to demystify things before you can really communicate on a deeper level. And then there's the language barrier. So if you don't speak fluent Japanese, then that adds a little bit more difficulty to the whole situation. And if you're in the countryside, that adds a little bit more difficulty to the situation. So in my experience, I'm living in the countryside. So, it's mostly families, older people, not too many young people. So as far as dating is concerned, it's few and far between. So there's not too many options. Now, I hear different things about living in the bigger city. I haven't lived in the bigger city, although I visited several times. But I think it all depends on who you know, your friend circle, who you work with, that kind of thing. Because I've heard from friends and other Japanese people, that generally people meet through work or through friends, through school, that kind of thing. So if you're not tapped into any of those circles, and you have like deep relationships with folks in those circles, then it becomes difficult. And generally speaking, the women here are very shy, especially in the countryside. So if you're not speaking the language and they're not used to seeing black folks or have any black friends or have a wider understanding of black foreigners, then it becomes a little tricky. But all that to say, I think it all depends on your mindset and your perspective. So I think if you come here, like myself, and love the culture, into the history, learning the language, speaking the language, then things kind of come together. You have to kind of be mingling with folks and be in the right places, in the right spaces. And then things, I think, kind of open up more. But everybody's experience is going to be different. Everybody's situation is going to be different. Not all black foreigners have the same experience or same perspective. But I'm speaking from my perspective as somebody who's a roots man, somebody with locks, somebody who has a certain style and presence you know, it's a little tricky. But I think in time, you know, as I get to know people and as I get to interact with more folks, more things will open up and the right person, or not even the right person, but the person that's supposed to come will come. So, yeah, so I thought I'd share that with y'all, kind of my perspective on dating in Japan, my general perspective. Maybe I'll make a part 2 to this video, but I thought folks would be interested in knowing what it's been like for me and the general experience so far. Hope y'all having a blessed one. One world, one love, Ja Mata.